So here's everything you need to know about lease purchase programs. This video we're gonna break down into 5 parts. We're gonna talk about why do trucking companies offer lease purchase programs, what to look out for when going into your lease. Number 3, the worst lease programs out there. Number 4, when you should consider a lease purchase program and when you should never consider it signing up to a lease purchase program. Lastly, we'll save the pay statement comparison between company drivers and lease operators. So what is a lease purchase program? So it's usually when a trucking company leases a truck to their drivers. So they'll get into an agreement where the driver pays X amount of dollars for a duration of whatever long it could be, 48 months, 60 months, and you work as an owner-operator when you sign on to the lease purchase program. So why do trucking companies offer it? Well, the first reason is companies do it to secure a driver for long term. The driver turnaround is pretty bad within trucking companies, especially long-haul truck drivers. So this is a way to make a driver stay for the long term. So they'll give them a truck. In most cases, they don't need to come up with a big down payment, so they become an owner-operator instantly. You sign the paperwork and you get paid as an owner-operator. The lease purchase program is no different than people working at the banks. And then what the banks do is they give stock options to their employees. Now, I've seen a lot of the time that these stocks will only mature on a certain date. So basically, if you're with the company for X amount of time, then you get to keep those stocks. And if you're not with them for X amount of time and you leave, then those stocks are not available to you. Another reason is because it's less liability for the company. So what do I mean by that? So when a driver works as a company driver, they get paid a salary, and the salary you need to pay CPP, EU, and EI here in Canada, which is the taxes, state taxes, provincial taxes, and federal taxes. When a driver becomes an owner-operator, they don't need to pay, the company doesn't need to pay that driver any more of those taxes. They just pay them the rate per mile or their gross, whatever the trucking company pays. Now, another big reason is the way that an owner-operator will take care of his truck. There's no company driver that's going to take care of that truck the way an owner-operator does. When a company driver drives that truck, there's a big difference between when an owner-operator owns his truck and the way that he takes care of it. He's going to be on top of the oil changes. He's going to be on top of the maintenance schedule. He's not going to let it slide. Where company drivers, they'll leave it more to the company because they're company drivers. It's really not their responsibility. The driver that's inside a lease purchase program will think twice before getting up and leaving the company. So he's invested inside the truck. The monthly payments, I mean, when a driver's in a lease program for 24 months, 36 months, well, he has another 12 or 14 or 18 months to go. Even when times are tough, he will stick around because he knows that in 12 or 14 months, that truck is gonna be bought out. Where a company driver, if a company loses their contracts, he'll just get up and go to the other company that has better contracts. And the last reason why companies offer the lease purchase program is sometimes they just want to help drivers. They know that they have bad credit, they can't become owner operators, and this gives them the opportunity to help a driver. And in most cases, that driver is very loyal to that company. All right, our second topic, what to look out for. So there are lots of scams out there that you need to be made aware of. So many stories of drivers not completing their lease and they just walk away. So what happens when they walk away? They basically gave up their payments for that truck. So if you walk away after 12 months, you walk away after 24 months. There is a lot of scams out there where the companies will force you to walk away by not giving you enough mileage, by laying you over. They'll just make your life miserable until you walk away from that truck. Imagine this, that working after 2 or 3 years, something that I've seen happen is that if a company goes out of business, imagine you're a lease operator, you signed on board with a carrier, you're working for 2 or 3 years, in 12 or in 8 months, your truck is fully bought out, that truck is supposed to be yours. All of a sudden, the company that you're working for goes belly up, and then the bank repossesses that truck, right? So there's really not much that you can do about it. The bank has a PPSA or a lien registered up against that truck because it's really owned by the trucking company that you're working for. And I've seen stories where drivers have lost their trucks because the company went belly under. Another thing that you should look out for if you are in a lease purchase program is if you have a few consecutive pays that are less than what you should have made as a company driver. So what do I mean by that? So if you are supposed to approximately the average rate, I would say Canada and US is probably 65 cents per mile for over-the-road drivers. Now, if you are on a lease purchase program and you're making less than 65 cents per mile on consecutive pays, so maybe 2 in a row or 3 in a row, I would question your lease program. A huge thing that drivers need to be made aware of is the purchase price. A lot of people go into signing a lease program, but they really don't know what is the purchase price and what is the interest paid. That's one thing you have to ask, because if a truck is only worth $125,000 and the company that's giving you the lease is charging you $150,000, you're just getting your ass handed to you, right? No, let's not say that. So you really want to make sure that the truck is market value, what you're paying for. You're not paying a much higher rate for that truck, and also the interest rates, right? This is something that you need to watch out for. Interest rates for good credit, for mediocre credit, I mean, there should be anywhere between 8 to 10%, not more than that, especially when you're on a lease program. Now, the longer the duration, obviously, the cheaper the truck, the cheaper your monthly payments are, but sometimes that really works against you. So you cannot purchase a 4 or 5 year old truck and lease it for the next 4 or 5 years. You're going to be paying very, very high payments on year 7, 8, and 9, and a lot of problems are going to happen with your truck on year 7, 8, and 9. To make sure that the duration is in line with the year of your truck. So I don't think the duration should be on a brand new truck more than 5 years, and a used truck should not be more than 4 years. If it's a 5-year-old truck, it shouldn't be more than 2.5 years. Another thing you want to look out for is probably fuel surcharge. Okay, you're not looking at the rates today. I mean, the company can offer you whatever they want to offer you today, but what happens when the fuel goes up? What is their fuel surcharge program like, and does it cover the cost of the increase in fuel? So worst lease programs out there, 2 things you need to look out for: duration and buyout. So number 1, duration. You cannot get a brand new truck and pay for it for the next 9 or 10 years of your life. The duration of a brand new unit should be 60 months. If you're getting a used unit, a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old truck, the duration should not be more than 48 months. Second thing is buyouts. Make sure that you do not have a huge balloon payment. If somebody's offering you a lease with a $50,000 or $60,000 buyout after 5 years, that truck is not going to be worth $50,000 or $60,000 after 5 years, and most likely you will end up walking away from it because the balloon payment in the back is just too much to absorb. There's a few companies here in Canada that I see very popular, the Lease Purchase Program. I have no idea why. They offer brand new units. I think they're the W900s. Their fuel consumption on them is just horrific, horrible. A lot of companies do this on purpose because they know that you will walk away from the lease before you get to the end, and even if you get to the end, they will most likely, you won't pay $50,000 on a truck that's worth $30,000. So with balloon payments, watch out for them. Those trucks are not aerodynamic, and if you're a long haul truck driver, you will be spending most of your pay on fuel. The difference between a flat nose truck and an aerodynamic truck, you're looking at about $2,000 to $3,000 difference every single month in your pay. All right, so topic number 4 is when should you and when should you never sign a lease program? So I have really 2 rules. Guys that are in debt, divorced, or with bad credit, those are usually good candidates for the lease purchase program. Why is that? Because if you go to the dealership with bad credit, they will rape you. Even if you had the deposit, they will rape you on the interest rates, okay? A $100,000 truck, if you're financing it with 18%, which is probably what you'll get with bad credit, versus a guy that's financing at 9%, you're looking at least $600-700 difference in payments every single month. So the guys with bad credit, definitely lease purchase program is an option for you. The guys that cannot save a down payment. I mean, in today's age, with today's inflation rates, it's really hard to save $25,000 to $35,000 to become an owner-operator. And that's just the beginning of it, right? So even guys that can save the 25 to 30, it costs a lot more to become an owner-operator. What I've seen drivers, that come to me after a year, after 2 years, they're like, okay, I'll save money to become an owner-operator. I'll see the same drivers a year later or 2 years later, although they thought they were going to save that money, but when I talk to them a year or 2 later, they're still in the same situation that they were a couple of years ago. You need to learn to work with your habits. If you are the type that doesn't have money saved in the bank, most likely this time next year, you will still not have money saved in the bank. It's a money management thing, not a savings thing. So who is a bad candidate for the lease program, okay? You should never go into a lease program when you have a deposit deposit and when you have good credit. I don't care what people say. I don't care who's trying to convince you otherwise. If you have your money saved, if you have $25,000 or $35,000 saved and you have good credit, you should not be going under the lease purchase program. Why is that? Because you want the flexibility to be able to move from company to company. That's the biggest thing, that when you're on the lease purchase program, you cannot transfer to another company unless you pay off that truck. Now, when you're an owner operator, imagine a scenario where a trucking company is really good today, but in 2 or 3 years, they lose their contracts and the guy across the street will have 10 times better contracts and has 10 times better rates. Well, you don't want to be locked into the company just because they own that truck. You want to own your own truck and you want to be able to move if anything is wrong. You should have the right to do that. So let's just recap that. You're never going into the lease purchase program when you have good credit, when you have the deposit, or if you suffer from anxiety. Don't even think about signing a lease purchase program or becoming an owner operator, because the stress levels are much higher when you're an owner operator or when you're a lease operator. Your job doesn't end when your shift ends. It's constantly going to be on your mind, your truck, your repairs, your maintenance, your bills for that truck. Yes, you will make more money, but it comes with a lot of headache, and that's why a lot of drivers out there prefer to stay as company drivers. They don't want the headache. They want to finish their shift. They want to come home and they want to forget about the driving. Where owner operators or lease operators, that truck is always on their mind. Will you make more money on a lease purchase program? Absolutely, you will. And make sure you watch this video over here where I've taken 3 company trucks and I've taken 3 guys on the lease purchase program, and I've compared their pays with identical mileage. So a driver that drives 6,000 miles as a company driver versus a driver that drives 6,000 miles as a lease operator. What is their pay difference after the truck, after everything? Make sure you watch that video. It's really, really interesting, and it will open your eyes about the pay difference between lease operators and company drivers. Well, I'm Ronen. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in my next video.